Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the MACE podcast. I'm your host, Marco Macente, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today, I have the pleasure to invite again, for a second time, Chiara Invernizzi from Italy. I made a former episode with Chiara earlier this year that you can find in the MACE podcast library. Chiara holds a master's degree in Medical and Pharmaceutical Biotechnology. She has over 16 years of experience in the CRO space, having covered the different roles from a contract specialist, lead, manager, as well as the director. Prior to joining the CRO space, Chiara worked for 3 years in preclinical research and communication contracts and investor relations in a small Italian biotech company. Chiara's passion for excellence in client management and effectiveness in completing negotiations rapidly, as well as a natural focus on metrics and analytics, have always been traits that distinguish her work and approach in site contracting. That's why I wanted to invite her again in order to catch up with what we have left last year. Which are the trends that we are seeing right now approaching 2025 in site startup, in site contracting, across the pharma industry? What about the site centricity, the approach that we are seeing as innovative across the pharma industry? Which is the role that the sites, CROs, and sponsors play across the site startup phase? Payments, how we can deal with these issues that we have seen so far across the pharma industry? And of course, AI, artificial intelligence, and technology, which is the impact that AI is going to have in site contracting and in the site startup phase. A lot of things, a lot of trends in 2025 and beyond. Please enjoy our conversation and check the former episode out in the MACE podcast library. Hi, Chiara. Welcome to the MACE podcast.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi. I'm good. Thank you for inviting me for the second time.
Yeah, of course. It's a pleasure to have you again, Chiara. As I mentioned in the introduction, we met earlier this year to touch base a little bit on the trends, on the topics that pretty much belong to our professional area, because we both work in the pharma industry, inside contracting, in startup. But of course, we want to catch up and we want to meet again because we have something to say in order to let our audience keep up with what is happening around the pharma industry in 2024 and beyond. So we had the opportunity to meet last time and to explore the trends and the updates that we were seeing earlier in 2024. Now that we are approaching 2025, of course, I guess that you have seen a lot of things happening, and there are some updates that are occurring in the pharma industry. So, Chiara, my first question for you is, what's happening? What's new? And did you see something relevant that you would like to share with the audience from a trend perspective?
Yeah, and I think we are referring to the site contracts specifically because last time we were talking about site contracts. This is we met and we talked about this. That was, I think, January last year, this year.
Yeah.
So 1 year has already gone. What has changed? Let's start with what has not changed first, which is fun. So contracts will always be the last piece coming into place before site activation. We know that. It is the history, it is the process. Nothing we can do about it. So we always need to consider that we have site processes, we have interdependencies with the approvals, for the signature, we have site processes that says, oh, I'm not going to touch the contract until I don't see the submission done. So this will never change. This has not changed. What is changing is how the organizations are trying to deal with the fact that we see very long turnaround times to get the contracts done. And we're seeing a lot of different approaches from the companies. But still, we see even a lot of changes and a lot of differences in how the sponsors are putting the focus on the contracts. You see some smaller clients may be pickier in terms of language, in terms of budget, because they have their priorities, they have their constraints. We see on the other side the CROs who are trying to accelerate all the time the site activation, because that will enable to have more time for patient recruitment. So what I've seen companies dealing with, how they are dealing with that is they are trying to prepare contracts in a way that are more easier for the sites, that are easier to negotiate. So I'm seeing a lot of cloning approach. So we use and reuse contracts all of the time. I'm seeing making the negotiation guidelines more robust so that it gives CROs who are in between more wiggle room to negotiate. But certainly the pieces that are really focusing on right now are making the sites at the center. And, this will be a very important topic I see in 2025, where we tend to negotiate and activate the same sites all over and over again. So looking at what language do they have that we want to reuse so that we don't ask them to renegotiate from the start. Budget-wise, what is that the sites have already asked that we can use, and we can work with the clients or the sponsors, the pharma industries, to get approved upfront with cut down time for the negotiation. We are seeing attempts to get the questions during the PSVs, the site qualification visits, right up front. If we know that the site always needs certain equipment, they will require that likely for studies all the times. So get these questions right at the beginning, have the right people responding to those questions. So we're saying being agile in the negotiation, because we want to reuse the language and the budget fees. We want to have information about what the site needs, what the framework of the negotiation can be. So does the site need a separate pharmacy agreement? Does it need a separate pathology agreement? What is the process to negotiate? This is what I see the main focus. What I also see is not really consistency across the industry, but a big focus on the MSAs. So get all the negotiation done from a language perspective so that you can focus during the negotiation for the study on the economical aspects. I'm seeing this starting a bit. It started back a few years, not consistently, but I think that is a major change that will make a difference.
Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing such a kind of insights, Chiara. Of course, from your words, I understand that the three main topics are, of course, capitalizing the knowledge, the previous knowledge in terms of site contracting and budget and negotiation with certain sites in order to let the negotiation be more seamless than ever. And of course, focusing on the right time and in the right place with the right people on the budget piece, on the contract piece, in order to let our people at the site be engaged since day one, and of course collaborate as a team in order to drive the negotiation and drive the signatures as quick as possible in order to run the study and let the startup phase be as quick as possible. So of course these are important trends that show that the contracts still play a pivotal role in the startup process. But you also mentioned the importance of the site and working with the same sites, and this gives me the possibility to ask you the second question that is of course related to our counterpart when we negotiate a contract, that of course are the sites and the institutions. And we see the so-called site centricity. That is an approach that started recently, but I suppose and I think that from your words we are still seeing. So what is the site centricity all about, and what is the role that CROs and sponsor can have in order to make the site a real actor in the negotiations? What do you think about that?
Indeed, it is really a hot topic right now. We have seen, I was checking LinkedIn a few days ago as well, and I saw quite a few posts and even interviews talking about exactly site centricity and site networks as well, because this is part of what the so-called site centricity. So I like to see that as, we are in the CROs, so we are in the middle. But I see that not as a line, I see as a triangle, right? So where the relationship among the three actors, which are the sponsors, the sites, of course, but also the CRO. So what we see, we always will have the sponsors who have their requirements, they have their expectations and their goals, because for some smaller clients, this specific trial is vital. If they fail that, and if they fail that will have major effects on even their survival. So it is really key that we, even if we talk about site centricity, we don't forget that we have sponsors that we as CROs are committed to. So having that said, the sponsor is always there. So even if we switch the focus to the site centricity, we have the other side of the coin and the picture in the triangle. The site centricity. Sites very often complain that they are, and I'm talking just general about the full startup, not just any longer to site contracts. They complain that CROs are contacting them from too many people, right? So you have the CRAs, then you have the site selection, then you have the contracts, then you have the submission, the regulatory piece, all different people. And they get too many messages at times not even consistent. So they need to jiggle around trying to look at their priorities, the site priorities, which may be working with different CROs, different sponsors, and then working with million people within the same CRO. I think that the site centricity is all about making sure that the site is, as well as the sponsor, is our client. So we are committed to facilitate their way of working with us, which means creating a relationship, which means even just making sure that they are engaged with us, they understand what we're trying to do, and not they don't see us like putting pressure, just activate the site. We need that for our clients. The site is our client. We want them to work with us for the bigger goal of having more drugs available, for instance. This is not really a new way of thinking. I know that there are some pharmas that in the past, even 5-10 years ago, started to have this relationship with the sites. Big pharmas where they were having this special and particular relationship with sites where they have a special channel of communication, single point of contact, MSA in place, so that we have this quick, they were calling like fast track sites, where you have everything in place, you have all the documents you need already, and then when you need to submit, you have already everything available to work with the site. It's not just that. Engaging with the site means helping them with access to tools. All the CROs have different portals. Sites have their portals where to input information. So making sure that the access to those portals is seamless as possible. It is making sure that we know exactly what the site requires. Again, to what I was saying before, if we know that the sites need a fridge, it will need a fridge across all the studies. If we have multiple studies with the site, guide them on the priorities and say, we need to activate this first, and then we can focus on that. Apply the same changes for the contrast so that you don't need to start all over again in the review, which takes longer. It is all these sort of things. So this is what we can do. But it's, what I want to say is also that we are seeing a growing scenario. Networks, the role of the networks. More networks are expanding. So we see Velocity, we see Synexus growing, we see this big networks growing and expanding and acquiring sites so that they can be agile and centralize as much as they can certain activities. We're seeing CROs buying or acquiring sites where they can be, more agile, more controlling in a way the process throughout activation. This is what I'll see be the big trend in 2025. This big role of the networks where they will grow, where we just have one point of contact, where we know the processes, know everything, and we can be more quicker, agile, and just get sites up and running quicker.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Chiara, because I'm seeing those kind of trends across the board. And the concept, as you mentioned, is that we are not working with the site simply, but we are partnering with the site. And that's why we need such kind of networks established and with seamless processes. And pretty much the trend is to reduce the fragmentation that sometimes, is there when working with sites across different studies. So thanks a lot for sharing these. And yeah, let's see how 2025 is going to be. But I really suspect that this is going to be a trend that will affect the entire startup process because, of course, partnerships, networks are the future. So we see roles dedicated to grow and to establish such a kind of networks. And we see the entire study team working with a focus on the site in order to let the site feel engaged and be engaged since day one. Um,
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
but I really think that on top of that, and it just came to my mind as you were
yeah,
talking, you know, we tend to go to the same sites over and over again
yeah,
because they have key opinion leaders, we know them. But I also think that there is a lot of unexplored market for
yeah,
sites. So I think that in 2025, what we can really do with the technology is also to try to target some sites that may have potential where we can easily establish a relationship and do the trials with them.
yeah.
We can use also the approach of referring sites, when you have one big site and then have what you can call ancillary facilities or different type of relationship with other sites in the area or in the country where they can refer patients
Yeah.
and have this kind of boost recruitment.
Yeah, yeah, of course. This is part of the technology piece that, of course, we will explore a little bit later. But I completely agree with you. Speaking about the sites, one of the big struggle that sometimes we hear and one of the stigma that sometimes, we need to face is the topic of the payments. Because sometimes a lot of processes, a lot of procedures, and some sites are delayed in getting the right payments when working across a specific study with the patients. So, what is the trend to sort these issues out from your perspective? And is technology and AI, artificial intelligence, helping out in getting some standard platform in order to alleviate a little bit the problem of the payments? What do you think?
Hmm. Side payments, what a what a big topic again. Thanks for bringing this up. Yes, sites very often, or often, let's be mild, often complain that they get payment late, or they are not paid at all. And this is causing a relationship issue
Yeah,
because they don't trust and they don't want to work with us anymore. This
yeah,
goes back to the site centricity. If we don't
yeah,
create the relationship, if they don't trust, they are not
yeah.
engaged in working with
The
us.
people.
Yeah. So what we're seeing in the last couple of years, and it started, a way back, is that sites are asking for some fees and some payments even before starting the trials or even before being activated. And this is becoming more and more frequent, more in certain countries than other, but still a trend. On the other side, CROs and pharma companies have the obligation to be transparent with the payments and the cash flows to be compliant with the SOX requirements. So it is kind of very, this is a big duality. We can't pay the sites if we don't have a contractual documents. They are not accepting to be activated if they don't have these payments.
Yeah,
And we know already that for some sites, especially the smaller ones, preparing the invoices, preparing exactly what needs to be paid is quite cumbersome. We have received this feedback quite a few times. So I do see that companies are adjusting to make sure that they can alleviate this pressure from the sites. Different companies are having different approaches. First of all, I've seen, and we started seeing this with the COVID, with the pandemic, the removal of the requirement for SDV before the last payments, for instance. We have seen startup agreements being or notifications to get these payments tracked, but still occurring before the activation. We are seeing opportunities where I see some companies trying to avoid the need of invoice, at least for the site visits.
Yeah.
I've seen companies investing in having ways to automate the pro forma invoice so that you can, that document that you can send to the site and say, site, this is what you need to invoice me because I'm going to pay this.
Yeah.
We're seeing more investment, and this will be probably more for future, completely automating the process. So creating the link between what is the budget in the financial systems of the CRO and what it is in CRF, what it is in all the platform where the sites are tracking their activities, in order to make sure that we create the link, we see the activities, we can pay, and then the invoice will be issued.
Yeah.
So we'll see that.
Yeah, of course, of course. So this is still there. So we are companies and organizations are trying to find ways to get this issue sorted out. It's a journey, I think, because of course we are not working with just one site, and each site may have different issues, and each site is different from one another. So the scenario is very complex. But it's good to see that there are some options available in order to reduce the complexity and alleviate a little bit the problem to get these sites paid out. Because of course, this is something that affects the relationships and the partnerships that we establish with the site. So we need to be cognizant that this is something that we need to deal with if we want to be effective in making a good relationship with the site. So thanks a lot for sharing those kind of info. Speaking about the technology, because this is something that of course is playing a pivotal role in my opinion, and I wanted to get your insights as well. We see artificial intelligence technology that is pretty much spread across the industry, and not just in our industry, but across the industries worldwide. So which is the role that, in your opinion, artificial intelligence can play in site contracting and in the startup overall? And do you see that there will be a major trend that we are going to see in 2025 and beyond to let us be more effective? So which is the relationship between humans and between AI? And how can we use AI in a way that can let us be more effective in the startup process overall?
Interesting question. Thank you. AI is, you need money to invest in AI because it implies work and planning and solutions, technology, IT technology as well. So what I think is that the biggest, or the companies will invest more in that and will be more advanced.
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend, and that is particularly keen on AI, and he was making the point that very few people are making the difference or understand the difference between an AI machine learning system and AI that is pure AI, so generating AI. What is that? So the difference between these two is that one is a machine learning. You need to give the input. So based on your experience that humans can have, or the historical data, and then the machine can build the solution to help out navigate through processes. While we also have, and it is more complex, but still very interesting, is the pure AI. So where you have AI pulling information from the cloud or from all the worldwide available information and helping you out, drafting an ICF, drafting a clause for a contract, drafting advertising material, this type out of scratch, where human can take, you need to think, you need to pull your knowledge, search the local regulations. So we have these two types. How this will combine in organizations, this is yet to see, but I think that you need to combine the two to see the proper effect. Because the limitation of the machine learning is that it's based on your experience. So you negotiate a contract with site, you get the information, you can reuse the information quickly. Humans can do that. It will take 8 hours to clone a contract. A machine can do that in 2 minutes. You see the massive benefit in terms of time. We can use for template preparation, contract, ICF, material, labels, everything. You can have AI to support all the suitability forms, so all the documents that you need for, what it is, a GP pack approvals, or depending on this, I don't know, every company is calling that, or RT approval or CDP, whatever. We can use all that to automate. The other piece that we need to take into account in terms of technology is also how many portals and different systems is the site requesting to access and to deal with in order to get the site activated. Even within one company, we tend to have multiple systems where you track the trainings, where you track the contracts, where you track, you send the CVs and blah, blah, blah. So having a focus on harmonizing these portals, having just one that the site has to learn, will make a major impact.
Yeah, yeah. That's important, and that's pretty much highlighting that technology is there. So we cannot ignore that technology is there, and we are still using technology. I agree with you. The matter will be how to combine these two souls, these two matters that we have explored right now, in order to let us be more efficient. I don't know if you agree with me, but I really see that for certain things, humans will be there. So humans still need to, provide an input or to elaborate some information, because again, from a site centricity point of view, from a partnership point of view, I really think that building a partnership, building an engagement means having someone that is human on the other side, that can feel the site, that can feel the sponsor if we are from a zero space, that can feel the PI. So there is such a kind of differentiator that, in my opinion, humans have. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't mean to say that, AI machines will replace human. Humans are still key. The role will be changing from the executor, let's say that, where you manually kind of put together the documents. You will be more adjusting it, making sure that the AI is doing the right thing and engaging. I mean, relationship is human. You cannot have a proper relationship, at least now, with a machine. So the engagement and all that emotional connection, in a way, can be done by humans. So I don't think that in the near future humans will be replaced by machine. It will be a change of role, where the importance of the connection, the importance of having the right attitude with the sites, with the sponsor, mitigating certain aspects between sponsor and sites, will be really pivotal in how we do things. So different role, but still very much human driven.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And let's see what the future is going to bring on that topic. But pretty much we can be assured that humans still are driving the processes from a subcontracting perspective and a startup perspective, as you mentioned in your answer. So Chiara, I ended up my question. I want to thank you again for being a guest in the MACE podcast. I really appreciate your time. I will treasure this episode, as the audience will, I'm sure about that. And let's stay in touch, let's stay connected, and let's see in 2025 what is going to be, in order to catch up and see how we have addressed the things in this episode, and reflect on what 2025 is going to bring to us. Do you agree?
Absolutely. It has been a pleasure being here. I really like to share what I think. It's my opinion. I welcome any kind of comments and, different opinion. It's a way to start a discussion, right?
Of course.
So and happy to stay in touch, absolutely, and see what happens during 2025, which is really around the corner.
Of course. Thanks a lot, Chiara. Wishing you a great holiday seasons, because of course Christmas is there, and wishing you all the best. Have a nice day ahead, and speak soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
And you. Thank you very much. Bye. You take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.